STEM. Thank you for being with us. We're so excited to have a wonderful panel. We have with us folks from engineering backgrounds and a computer science background. And we are so grateful to our sponsor, SoCal Gas, that is supporting this workshop. My name is Ali Meisel, and I'm the Director of Development at Fulfillment Fund. And it's so wonderful to see you all. And I have three wonderful panelists with me tonight. Andreea Alexiu from SoCal Gas, Gabby Llanillo from Riot Games, and Blanca Herrera from LADWP. So I'm just going to start out by letting the three of them introduce themselves. I'll start with you, Andreea. Could you just share your name, your job title, your current company, where you went to college and what you majored in, and what you do currently in your role?
Hello, everyone. I'm very excited to be here and to share my my work experience with you. I'm working for Southern California Gas Company, and my role there is a project manager, construction, so pipeline integrity. I deal with lots of construction projects that are mandated by the government to explore anything that's that could be wrong with our pipes, or if we have a due date of every 7 years to do that. My background, actually, I have my master's degree in mechanical engineering, and I got that at the University of Bucharest, Romania. I'm also a CPA. What Southern California Gas Company offered me, as opposed to all the other companies that I ever worked for, it gave me the opportunity to explore many working areas. I started in Southern California Gas Company as I'm a CPA also. I'm certified in California as a certified public accountant. And I started my career at Southern California Gas Company as a senior accountant in accounts payable. Then I moved to regulatory accounts, where we deal with all the accounts that the CPUC mandates the regulated utilities in California to have. Then I moved to customer energy solution, where I dealt with all the commercial and industrial customers that Southern California has as a financial analyst. And now I'm back to engineering in my role as a project manager. I'm a big cheerleader of Southern California Gas Company. It's an amazing place to work. And like I said, it gave me, I already had, this is my fourth position with them. So I learned a lot and I developed a lot, and the people working here are just amazing. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Let's go to Blanca. If you could share your title and current company, where you went to college and your major, and what your current role is all about.
Hi, good evening, everyone. So my name is Blanca Herrera, and I'm a professional engineer licensed in the state of California. So I hold a professional license. I did my undergrad at Cal State LA, a local school in Los Angeles, and I have a master's degree from the University of Southern California. I currently work as a civil engineer associate for the civil design group at LADWP, Los Angeles Department of Water and Power. I support the power system, so I'm what is considered a civil engineer in the power system. A lot of my work just kind of relies on supporting power generating facilities, such as hydro plants, solar plants, wind farms, and all of our DS distribution stations and receiving stations. Prior to working for Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, I do have a background in construction. I did construction management at the Port of LA. And I'm really excited to be here and answer any of your questions.
Thank you. Gabby, same questions.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me. My name is Gabby Llanillo. I am currently a QA supervisor, and that's a quality assurance supervisor at Riot Games. I work on Valorant specifically. I went to college at Chapman University, and I studied computer science and minored in video game programming. And before this, I was at Naughty Dog, where I worked on The Last of Us Part 2 for like 3 years, and I was doing QA leadership over there. Basically what QA is, you know, when people are like, oh, you work in games, do you just play all day? Well, kind of, but yeah, my job specifically is basically testing the different features and like game development pipelines and making sure that that's all good and exciting for players. And what I do at my current role specifically is handle like external testing teams as well as like internal processes. And I work with like different developers and making sure that like everything is going well as we're like putting out patches and new features to the game. But yeah, that is kind of a TLDR. And I've been working in games for nearly 5 years now. Went straight into it after college. It was like always my passion. So I'm glad it worked out because my mom was really scared that I was going to go into the gaming industry. But I had the computer science program to back it up. So she was less nervous because I could always go into tech if it fell back.
Thank you so much. And that leads nicely into my next question, which was, how did you know that you wanted to go into STEM? You know, whether it was engineering or computer science, in your case, Gabby. You know, I'll go backwards in backwards order, and I'll go back to Gabby. You mentioned you always had an interest in games. So tell us how you kind of follow that passion to turn it into what you do now.
Yeah, I grew up just playing a lot of video games. I actually thought I wanted to go into architecture because I played a lot of The Sims, and I was like, yeah, I'm actually good at building houses like virtually, but it's not the same at all. I actually grew up in the Philippines, which doesn't really have like gaming or a lot of like tech pathways because of our like infrastructure back home. But when I moved to the States, I studied computer science, and we just so happened to have a video game programming minor. So I just like took that. I know that there are some colleges now that do specifically computer science for like game programming, like USC and things like that. But as far as like other things I did a lot of like YouTube tutorials of just like how to make video games in like Unity and Unreal and other engines that you could get like resources in. But I didn't really have a backup plan, so I was just hoping that it would work out in games, especially since it was such a new industry to be in. So I didn't really have anybody to look up to, especially just like because the industry was mostly filled with guys, and there wasn't a lot of people that I saw who looked like me. But I think it's been slowly changing. I just like got pretty lucky with how my path has gone, I suppose. I think I joined at the right time.
Awesome. Same question to Blanca. How did you know you wanted to go into engineering? Had you always been interested in math and science? Tell us about that.
So I like to say that the field kind of found me. And to better reflect what that means to me, it's a little story about like a 7th grader back in first period class who was literally on the verge of tears because she didn't know how to say I'm here. So I want to say the real reason why I'm an engineer today is because many years ago, I found myself scared. I'd find myself in a classroom full of students they didn't know, speaking a language I didn't understand. But that first period class was math. And so regardless of the language you speak, 1 + 1 is always equals to 2. So that gave me like a comfort space. So I think I found the numbers was the place where I belong. I felt comfortable. It gave me a sense of identity. Kind of just became the math girl, right? I knew everything there was to know about mathematics. And then fast forward to that, I really like, I actually thought I was gonna be a doctor, but I find blood and things like that really gross me out. So I figured that wasn't a good choice. And so I decided I was going to go into engineering. At first, I wanted to do nuclear engineering. I found chemistry to be very difficult. And so I decided to do civil engineering. I just felt like civil engineering is more like hands-on. You get to see a building, you get to see a structure, you get to see a road. So that's kind of why I chose civil engineering. Just something to say, like, don't ever get discouraged. Maybe you start with like a plan to be a electrical or a mechanical engineer, and then you find out that there's too many obstacles. So try something on the field similar, but still relates to your ultimate goal. And that's kind of how I got here today.
Same question for you, Andrea. How did you discover your passion for, or decide to major in mechanical engineering and kind of go down that path?
I was very passionate about math, so math brought me into engineering. I really didn't want to go into engineering, but because my father was a business major, he was he was doing very well in his field, and I wanted to go in the business, but all my high school colleagues, they were like, no, we are going to go to engineering. And I was like, okay, maybe that made me think about that and decided to go to engineering. So actually I went to university that's dedicated to construction. So it was construction, University of Construction, so mechanical engineering, especially for construction. So that was it wasn't easy, but I liked it. After I finished my degree, my school, I went to work for the biggest construction company in Romania, which was very exciting. But I always had a thought in my head, you know what, maybe I should go back to school and start being an accountant, because I was like, at that time I moved to Canada. The economy wasn't doing that great. So I was like, okay, I'll go back to school to become an accountant. So that's how I became a CPA. But after I done that, and now that I'm back to engineering, I'm so happy that I'm here, because it's very exciting. It's working with a lot of people, managing projects. I learned a lot about all sides of the business, like from getting permits to all the way to the end product, to a project that can be closed. So what can I say? Follow your passion and do what you think is right, and don't be afraid to try new things. You know, it's you are young and you can do that. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll start with Blanca for the next question. What should a college student right now do to prepare themselves for a career in your field if they wanted to go into civil engineering?
I mean, I think if you're a college student and you're here right now, well, that's a great step. You're gathering tools. I heard that there's scholarships being offered through this through the fulfillment fund, so that's great. When it comes to academics, what I found it to be very helpful for me was honestly a planner. I planned my day from start to end. Literally every single portion of the day was planned. How many hours I was going to spend in school, how many hours I was going to spend on the library. I used to take the bus, so how many hours was I going to be on the bus, what time I needed to be at the bus stop, how much time I had to eat, how much time I had to work out. It was literally everything was planned. So I think my number one takeaway from college was to plan everything. You plan and set goals and you'll be able to fulfill them. And additionally to that, I think another great tool to have is your soft skills. Your technical skills are wonderful. You're going to get those at school. And a lot of those technical skills that you learn at school, you might not even use them in your field. You're going to learn new technical skills. But I think it's important to focus on your soft skills, you know, focus on your communication skills, focus on your writing skills, take a leadership role. You know, there's so many organizations within a college there, especially in engineering. There's ASAE, there's SWE, there's sororities, there's all kinds of scholastics and non-scholastic social kind of groups that you can join and get a leadership role. So I think those things are very important. Your technical skills are important, you know, go to school, do your homework, understand what the teacher is saying, not just do the homework, but also focus on your soft skills. That's going to take you very long.
Thank you. I'll pass that over to Gabby. What advice would you give to a current college student who might want to pursue a career in the gaming industry, particularly on the software and development end?
Yeah, I think I saw somebody ask something similar. So a lot of people go into games not knowing exactly like what they want to do, and that's where something like QA and testing might be a really good like place to start, because you work with so many different departments and you have to touch different systems and things like that. In general, trying to break into the industry is very hard because it's pretty competitive and a lot of people are trying to stand out. I would say my biggest tips are to put together a portfolio. It's especially like, it's kind of easier if you do go to school for like something like computer science or like game development, because you do like make your own projects like as you go in school that you could just like slot into a portfolio. But you know, not everybody has like access to like higher education. And so like the backup to that would be just to go on YouTube or like look up, tutorials for like Unity, Unreal Engine, all of like those free engines that you could build games in, and just start making things like, like you could just play around, kind of like work with the code. There's a lot of resources out there now that like people can just do outside of like paying for a very expensive college. So putting together a portfolio and just, not necessarily knowing what you want to focus in, just like puts you ahead of the curve. And also you get to mess around with different types of areas in games. Like if you wanted to become a 3D modeler, you could download like a software that allows you to just like make, different like furniture or things like that. You can also get into scripting that way, or like level design. You can mess around with like sound design as well. So there's a lot of different things you could do to get into games, but if you don't know exactly what it is yet, you can start with QA. But either way, having a portfolio and just talking about like how you got through that project, what did you learn from it, what do you want to improve upon next time if you visited like that game project that you made, all really good things to help you stand out.
And over to you, Andrea, advice for current college students.
My advice is to try to get an internship, see how the real world looks like. It's one thing to get your technical skills and to learn in school, but until you reach the real world, you don't know. And I think Blanca mentioned before me, it's very important to work on your soft skills. It's very important to know how to work with people in a project. So all these projects that you guys work in a team, they all actually prepare you for the real world, because in the real world, we work with people. We have to understand how we are different from each other, right? We have to understand our weaknesses and our strengths. So I think, so I would focus on my project. I would definitely advise you to get an internship. If you cannot get an internship, go out and volunteer for something, or just go for like in your field that you are passionate about, just go and do it for free. I mean, when I started, I just went to companies and I was trying to get, I did get positions that I wasn't paid for nothing. But the thing is, you are prepared. You are prepared for the questions. You'll be prepared for facing the reality, and I think that's very important to manage your expectations, because you have to know, and you have to adjust your goals, and you'll adjust your goals based on the real life experience. So that's my advice. Try to get something to work in the real world.
Thank you. We have some great questions in the Q&A, so I'm just going to go to the students' questions. And this one is for Gabby. Aside from game development, was there anything else in computer science that interested you?
I did like software engineering. A lot of people I know just like were trying to get into Google and Apple and things like that. Like app development was also very interesting to me in terms of like UI and UX, and like having potential like, buyers or audiences like find the best way to interact with your app in a way that feels good. So that was also interesting. Just the way that like people can interact with like products as opposed to like the back end, which I was less interested in. But yeah, I think that ties into why I like games so much, is because it's such an interactive experience.
A question for everyone. How did networking impact your trajectory? Were there any connections that you made that were particularly meaningful? And what advice would you give about finding good folks to network with and or mentors? I'll go to Blanca for this one.
So I think early on in your career or during your college days, an important place to do, believe it or not, networking is within your school. So for example, ASC, the Society of American Engineers, that's a good place to do networking. A lot of those groups have they have panelists that come and talk to them about their experience, about their jobs. You can reach out to those panelists. There's a lot of a lot of students that have graduated and then come back to become a mentor during this organization have really good feedback. They can put you in contact with the companies that they're working. And then what you really need, I think, in early on in your career, networking, what do you gain out of it, is just kind of mock interviews. People to tell you like, hey, like this is the type of questions that you get in an interview and this is how you responded. So I think for me, that was the most important part of networking. When I got my first internship, it was great for me to network within that company because I got to touch bases with different, even in the company at the Port of LA, there was construction management and there was civil design. So I got to interact with both of the groups and kind of see where I best fit, what I like the best. So that's another way of networking, you know, just talking to other people, seeing what they do on their day-to-day job and see where you best fit. So I think that's the way I did my networking.
Over to Andrea.
Like Blanca mentioned, I do believe that school is it's a very good place to start networking with your colleagues. Maybe your colleagues have parents who work in a field or for a company that you are interested in. Just talk to them, explore what they're doing and how they're doing. Talk to your teachers. Your teachers might have former colleagues that they are in working for certain companies. So you want to get in touch with them, work with your school counselor. But going back to the internship and going back to the company that you, let's say you have a goal, you want to get to work for a certain company, start going and applying for job or applying for opportunities there, or just go by their offices and say, hey, do you offer any internship? Oh, we don't offer any internship. Do you want to have can I start shadowing people? Can I start working with you, doing something for you, because I'm going to this is the field that I want to work for. So that's my advice. Talk with as many people as you can in your school, in your day-to-day life, in your community, and reach out to them and find out if they can help you. If you don't start talking to people and communicating, they'll never know that this is your goal, you know. So be open and go out and try to find what you want.
Same question for you, Gabby, about networking. You know, how were you able to do that? How were you able to find folks to guide you along your path?
So I didn't actually know anybody in the games industry when I was just like cold applying everywhere. But once you get in, that's really just like your kickoff point, because all of your coworkers, like everyone pretty much like knows somebody who's worked somewhere in games because it's so small. And as long as like you do your work really well, like that's kind of a testament to wherever you're going to apply, and like people are going to ask like their friends about you, etc. I know that like students have been reaching out to devs like on LinkedIn, and that is like a little bit more like, not everyone is as privy to that, but I know that there are some people who are open to just like answering questions that way. And there's like not necessarily anything wrong unless you're very pushy with like getting information. There's a lot of resources like from developers like all over Twitter, for example. There's a very big like game development community there. And people just like share like what they do with their jobs, and you get to ask like questions and things like that. As far as like career fairs, like I know that game companies have started opening up internships more. I know that Riot also has just like a website filled with all of our internships, and they have started like showing up at schools again, but we stopped that for a while because like COVID was really bad. So I think like that is the best way to have networked, but it's like really hard because it seems like the games industry is very like mysterious up until you get in, but there's a lot more like friendly faces, and I think it's definitely worth your shot to just like, you know, follow a couple of developers like online and like ask them questions and like reach out.
Awesome. Speaking of internships, there's a lot of questions in the chat about internships, and Our wonderful sponsors, SoCal Gas, LADWP, and Riot Games all have on internships. So I'm actually going to drop some in the chat for folks, some links that you can take note of and check out. Next question I want to ask is about any challenges you all have faced in your careers, any roadblocks, and how did you overcome them? Start with Andrea.
I have to say that me being an immigrant to this country and being previously an immigrant to Canada, I faced many roadblocks. Right? It's trying to convince people that you are actually a professional and you know what you're doing. So for me, how I dealt with these things, I went back to school and I got more more education, and I presented myself, and that's where my advice with internship comes. I started going applying to companies and starting to explore the things in my school. When I went back to school, where there are volunteering opportunities for me, so I can put on my resume, so I can showcase myself as somebody who's able to do the job. So my advice to overcome roadblocks is to focus what is your goal. Don't have big goals, just have step-by-step goals. Overcome one by one and you'll get there. It is very important to know what you want. If you know what you want, I believe that you are already more than halfway there. So the most important thing is to decide what do you want to do. Is that it's engineering, it's what kind of engineering, and that's how you'll by focusing on that goal, you'll get there. Thank you.
I believe the question was some challenges in the field, correct?
Challenges you faced along your path, you know, and how you overcame them.
So I think looking way back, my number one obstacle that I overcame was like my language barrier, like learning the language and just understanding how the school system works. Fast forward nowadays in my day-to-day, in my career, there's a lot of small little challenges that come to my mind. Keep in mind that engineering is a male dominant field. So it kind of touched bases on what Andrea said. It's kind of just, a lot of times people think you're like the secretary sitting in the meeting taking notes, and it's like, no, I'm an engineer, like I'm the project manager. So I think that's one of the obstacles. And then I do some field work. So this is crazy. Some of my field work requires me to go out of town. So I'll be in like the Mojave Desert, and I'll be out there for like 4 or 5 hours at a time with the construction crew. And so an obstacle, which I still don't know how we're gonna overcome it, is if the guys need to go to the bathroom, they could just go hide behind the construction crew and they're fine, right? I can't do that. So I think that's one of those challenges that in the field I found. Another thing is proper PPE, right? You have to wear like overalls when I go into a receiving station, and they don't really make them for women. So like I have to like roll the sleeves, roll the bottom, look all baggy, walk around and wobble. So certain obstacles that looking back, they're kind of funny, but there are obstacles that you will face in the field. And you just keep in mind that like you are in the field today that you are because of all your hard work. That was one of those things that it was really hard for me internally to overcome, is to recognize that I am here because I worked really hard to get here, not because I'm the token Latina or the token woman engineer. Like, no, I'm here because I worked hard and I deserve to be here. So I think that was an internal obstacle that was really hard to overcome. But as time goes by and I spend more time in the field, I belong here.
Thank you. You do.
I think that's a very good point with the field, because I go a lot in the field, but I prepare myself. I stop to the gas station before, you know. But you're right.
These things we have to think about. Gabby, similar question. Any obstacles along your path to where you are now?
Yeah, I would say like +1 to with both Blanca and Andrea have said here. I totally feel that with like video games also, of it being very like dominated by like men. Also it's pretty like westernized, and it's a lot of not just mostly white people, honestly. So I feel like that in itself has made it pretty hard to get into the industry, like, and be taken seriously. Because it's like you play games as a girl, and it's like you're either going to be like fetishized or like not taken seriously, like at all. And then if you are, in fact, like as good as you say you are, or like actually like very good at the job, it just pisses people off for some reason. I don't know why. So I have like gotten that quite a few times. Also being like an immigrant myself, it's like you kind of feel like you have to work like 10 times as hard to like prove yourself as equal to somebody who was like born here. Put like being a woman, being a person of color on top of that, and all of these other things. It's just like, oh, my mother is like very much like me, of just like, we're gonna work super hard to like be accepted into this country. And I feel like I like take that like everywhere I go. But like Blanca said, it's like you have to like realize that you get to where you are because of like how hard you work, and not just because like you're the token person for like everything. And I feel like I've really overcome that because of like the support of my peers. It's really good to have people who uplift you and give you like that confidence to be like, hey, my voice actually matters and I should be able to call the shots like everybody else. And it's, you know, imposter syndrome like honestly does not go away like however long you're in the industry, but it gets better. And then also like you get way more confident in your skills, and just like with your knowledge, and like your voice, like, and your diverse background like matters a lot. Just like overall it makes the company better. So it's hard, but you can do it, and it takes like small steps like that.
That's great advice. We had some questions in the chat about standing out in internship or job applications. What would you all say about that in your field? How to make yourself stand out, Andrea?
I'm going back to my thing. I believe you showing that you did any volunteer work, any other, you had any other real life projects will make you stand out, because people will trust you, will say, oh, look at this person. They are not just starting right now in the internship. They have some experience. They really want to do this. So that's my advice. Then go out and put something on your to have something to put on your resume for the career that you want to be in. Internship, volunteering, anything that you want, even a community work, anything. It's good, because you show companies that you are able to work with people. You can take directions from others, and you work well with others. You are not just somebody who came out of the room, who studied all day long, went to school all day long. I mean, nobody's saying that that's not good. It's good, but on the other hand, you need to show that you know how to work with people and how to integrate, and how to, I don't know, you want to do more. You want to do more than to study. You want to be part of a company and to develop yourself.
Gabby, same question. How would you recommend students stand out if they're applying to internships? And if you have comments also on timing, you know, there was another question in the chat about, you know, should people do internships in their freshman year or junior year, or what, you know, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think I like mentioned this earlier, but having like a portfolio definitely helps you stand out compared to somebody who hasn't like put together any materials. Because in the games industry, it is very much like you learn on the job, and so it's really hard to like prove to someone, I guess, like your coding skills, for example, if you haven't like coded a sequence of like somebody like, you know, doing a combat thing like in game. But just like kind of putting what you learned into school like in action through like making something for your portfolio, for example, is like one way to do it. As far as timing, I think Riot specifically like focuses on internships like towards like the latter half of your education, because if it's too early, it's like we want to hire you probably if you do really well. And so it would be weird to like give you a 2 to 3 year like gap of just like you did this internship and then that like experience might not hold up like 3 years from now. So I would say probably like your senior year, whether you're in the middle of it or towards like the end and you're graduating and have an internship lined up, or even like your junior year. But I know that it's different for like different departments and like different industries and stuff like that.
Pass that over to Blanca. Applying to internships and jobs and standing out and timing, all of the things internships.
Yeah, so I think because I review some internship applications. So I just think of the example, if I have 2 applications, 2 different students with a 4.0, one has leadership experience and the other one doesn't, I'm more than likely going to choose the one that has leadership experience. And that's because this gives me a cue that this person has communication skills, knows how to work well with others, knows how to take direction. So I think very important to develop those soft skills. If you're applying for an internship and you don't have any real life experience, just kind of think back of what you have done, right? Maybe you don't have a leadership position in any school, or maybe you don't have a past job, but maybe you volunteer at a local church and then you can talk about that. Just anything that makes you stand out. Don't remember that anyone can get a 4.0. It's not that difficult, but make yourself stand up, make yourself be unique. Talk about your volunteering experience, talk about your leadership experience, talk about the soft skills you have developed. I think that's what's going to differentiate you from other applicants when it comes to internships, applying for internships.
In these last few minutes, just from everyone, a couple words of parting advice that you would like to share with our students. I'll start with Andreea.
I'm really happy that you guys attended this session. I think this is the first step. You already took the first step. You show that you want to have an internship, so that's amazing. I believe you are one of those people who they know what they want, even though maybe you don't realize yet. But definitely you are better than the other ones who didn't attend this, because you try to form an idea. So great job for being here, and attend as many of those sessions as possible, because you'll only learn from people. You learn different things from me, from Blanca, and from Gabby. You learn totally different things. So you leave here richer, right, knowing more than you knew 45 minutes ago. So that will be my first step, my first advice. And my second advice will be keep going, even if it gets hard, even if you have obstacles, just keep going, because you know what, if you want to do it, you'll do it. And lean on others when you need to. Again, that's a very good skill to have. Learn to let other people help you, and on the other hand, learn how to help other people. I used to work for UCLA before my SoCal gas, and to tell you the truth, I was very impressed with how much people donate to other people to go to school. Even people who are not extremely rich, but they take from their money and they donate to other people. So that impressed me a lot. So not only help yourself, help others as well. If you see them weaker or they need help them too. I'm sorry, I talked too much. Thank you.
Thank you. Blanca, a couple words of parting advice.
I think everyone has had so many wise ideas and had much advice. So what I can say is, don't give up. You're gonna find a lot of classes along the path in your academic journey that you're not gonna like, you're not gonna do good at. Just remember, it's just one class. Get through it. You'll probably never see it again. When you're applying for internships, apply to as many as you can. Do not be discouraged. I think I applied to like 30 or 20 of them. Like literally every single internship application I saw on Google, I applied to it. And I think I only got like 2 or 3 callbacks, but it was fine. So just don't give up, apply to every single one of them every year till you get one. Try your best to get a leadership role, try your best to work on your soft skills, on your communication skills, build your resume, lean on other people, like Andrea was saying, be a good listener, learn from others, and be willing to teach others what you know. So like if you're in a classroom and you see somebody struggling, try to help them and try to help them understand that, because that's going to help you develop your soft skills, and it's going to help you better understand the material that you're teaching others. And lastly, never be afraid to discover your passion every day. I found a new passion every day. As I reach a milestone, I find that my passions are changing. So when I was in college, I was really passionate about doing really, really good in school, getting the best grades. So I did well, I got my dream job. So then what's your next passion? Oh, well, my next passion is to encourage K-12 students to pursue the field of engineer. And so maybe that's why I'm here. So never be afraid to rediscover your passion every day and work hard for what you're passionate about.
Thank you. Couple last words, Gabby, and then we're going to wrap it up here.
Yeah, +1 to what Andrea and Blanca have said. Like, super cool hearing just from outside game perspective in general. But yes, I do believe that like helping others is like the biggest thing, because I knew I wanted to get into games, and once I got here, it was about opening the door for others and like uplifting them and like mentoring them, because I never had a mentor like that. So wanting to like make space and provide like what younger you would have wanted to see has kind of been like me fulfilling my inner child's dream. This might be a little bit more like for games industry stuff, but because it is such a passion driven field, it is very easy to get exploited in the way that you are going to just make your job your life. And this is literally what happened to me at my last job, where it was like working so many hours, like I just like didn't even know anything outside of work. And I feel like burnout was definitely happening. And I think that happens to a lot of people in games. And that's why I think the like average amount of time somebody stays in the games industry before they just like move on is like 5 years, because of how like passion just like drives you to the end of the line. So I think work-life balance and finding things outside of like your work is super important, that you're passionate about, because games are great, but you know, it's good to like walk outside and like take a look at some trees or like go get food. I don't know. I feel like it's just good to take care of yourself, because yes, touch grass. It's really good to take care of yourself, because at the end of the day, it's like, you know, once you start like failing yourself, then you can't do your job as well. Not that like the job is like everything, but companies can replace you. So your health should not be on the line for that. And I think it's good to look out for each other as well and make sure that other people aren't running themselves into the ground. So just take care of each other.
I love that. That is a hugely important that I think people forget a lot. And so thank you for saying that, Gabby. Work-life balance, taking care of your health, so that you can, you know, take care of the other people in your life and you know, do the things that you love. So we are over time. I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today for Career Expo. We hope it was a wonderful experience. Thank you to our panelists, Gabby, Blanca, and Andrea. We're so grateful for your time.